This is Dan from Merrimack with the Championship Shield, and you're watching the Jacks Rangers Show. Huzzah!
Huzzah, Rangers. This is your boy, Phil Harris, here at the Jack Rangers Show, and I'm joined with some very, very special guests this time around. Joining us all the way from Seattle, Washington is Matt Courtwright and his friends from the Seawall podcast. We got Nick Greer, and also Levon is here with us too. How the hell are you boys?
Doing great.
Great, man.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Great to be on.
Excellent.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for you're helping us break our cherry with the new set, audio, video. Like we got a whole new platform right now. We're trying to set the bar a little higher than we were.
I'll tell you, man, you guys have set the bar extremely high with what's going on there. The couches, the mics, you got the jerseys in the background, you got the rugby balls. It looks fantastic. I don't think there's a better set in MLR anywhere to speak of. So you guys got it made there. And I love the Free Jacks on the left-hand side there, the jersey that I got signed for you. I'm so glad that you were able to frame that and put that up there. That's really, really cool.
Thank you. It's the least I could do, man. You went out of your way. As you said, Free Jacks donated it out of their own. The number 2 is on the back, so it's very fitting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's signed by the entire team of the winning championship team. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm still riding high with this championship. You know, we're going to continue to talk about it up until the kickoff. I think we every once in a while we'll throw in there like a daily reminder that the Free Jacks won the championship, and there's very few more deserving organizations in the New England Free Jacks, top to bottom, just first class. And I'm so happy for our fan base to have that first championship. Now you guys are, looking down upon everybody with the 2 championships, and the Free Jacks, interestingly enough, I'm sure some people know this, maybe some people don't. The Free Jacks and the Seawolves are the only 2 surviving teams that have won championships within this league, and we're going on year 7 here, which is very, very interesting to think about. But that's the circumstances that we're in right now. Wanted to quickly, Matt Courtwright, you're our Seattle correspondent officially. I wanted to ask you about what's been going on lately. You gave us a scare big time with your hospitalization. Everybody was really shocked and saddened to see what was going on. I just wanted you to give us a quick medical update on yourself.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the love, and I really appreciate everybody's love in general, because, we're all going through hardships. We're all going through shit. Okay, yep. I said it. And I'm just going through my version at the time. So, I'm not special. I'm not any better than anybody else, or actually, I'm kind of worse, but but temporarily. I can play a mean game of poker. So when I see you better have your money.
Hell yeah.
But no, I got diagnosed with bilateral Bell palsy at first, and then it went into GVS, which is a French term, which is a mouthful to say. Mm-hmm. And then because it's been so long, I made 3 trips to the hospital, which is not something I've ever done before, nor do I ever want to do again.
Sure.
But it's now called CIDP, which is chronic at the beginning, is what the C stands for. So that mm-hmm. means that even when I do make a recovery, I have the chance of this constantly happening throughout the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And it's nothing I could have done to prevent it. It's just literally a virus in my immune system turned on my nerves. Wow. And it attacked the shield on my nerves. And so therefore I can't move my body like I used to. So like when I used to be at the games, as you know, because we've been mm-hmm. to a couple games together.
Oh yeah.
I'm a busy body, man. I can't stay still. I'm just, ants in my pants kind of thing. And yep. I'm not that guy this season. My body's not ready to do that. I can barely make it upstairs. So mm-hmm. it's definitely going to be a different experience for me. And it's going to be a different experience for a lot of our fans too, because I'm kind of the hype man, other than that rookie guy,
right?
So, together we work together well, but this year I'm going to have to rely on him a little bit more than he relied on me. So first world problems. But thanks for asking, sincerely.
You're welcome. It hurt my heart to see what was going on there in Seattle with you. And because, I look up to you big time. Like, we have a little bit different personalities, but I always, admire what you do for the rugby community there in Seattle. I just think you're a top-notch guy. And, I love your infectious passion for rugby. And I share it a little bit to a certain extent, but I don't know anybody else that has more passion for the game than you do, Matt. So it's good that you're on, the recovery and on the mend. And it's just a real, it's a shame that happened, but I'm glad that things are a little bit better right now. You sound much better than when I heard you previously. So that's one thing to be thankful for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's I wish I could take credit, but it's steroids. And a little gain at time is a huge gain. These guys have watched me go through the shit show that it is. Yeah. And it's nice to have your buddies that are there through thick and thin, and they remind you like you're getting better, you're improving. Because
Right.
when you look in the mirror, kind of like when you're losing weight, man, you can't tell because you're looking at yourself every day, every minute, and like not literally, but you know what I mean.
Mhm.
And then you get a week apart, and you're like, holy dude, you're moving so much more in your face than you were a week ago. So it's
Mhm.
good to get that feedback because it keeps you positive and motivated to just keep doing what you got to do because this is really humbling. They're really humbling. And, I've been sensitive about it and I've cried about it many times and I probably will continue to in all sincerity.
Yep.
And it's not because I'm less of a man. It's just because like this is crippling, literally crippling.
For sure.
And especially as a busybody as somebody as I am. So
Mhm.
you see like even crippled, like trying to get this going. My son is over here. He's producing now for us. And he has come over twice a week on his days off and put in work to help
That's
make all
awesome.
this happen. And without him, this would be nothing.
Shout out to Damien.
So shout out to Damien.
Yeah, Damien.
Hell yeah, Damien, way to go, man. For sure. I want to get into the Seawall podcast here in a moment and just ask what's going on with you guys. But keep in mind, Johnny Appleseed over here, I've been spreading podcasts all over the country for MLR. It was less than a year ago that I had this conversation with you and Nick over there about, you guys should, we don't really see a lot of podcasts out from Seattle, and you guys are very, very passionate fans.
Yeah.
And from that conversation has spawned the Seawall podcast. So I'm super happy that you guys have run with this. I've watched, several episodes. You guys do an amazing job covering the team and just talking about rugby in general. So I wanted to ask you, what's new with the Seawall podcast?
Go ahead.
I mean,
anyway,
studio, equipment, everything we got going on. Things that listener parties that we've put on. We just put one on. What was it, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago. It's kind of a welcome the new players and get them all them and their families. We got them all at a bar, and man, we had the bar packed out. And I was just
it was so
these
cool.
guys weren't there, but I was at a photo shoot last night, and there was one of the new players that was there, and he's like, man, it was awesome to have my family there to meet. And she was like, man, this is the fans here. I think it was might have been one of the New York guys.
Okay.
And he was like, man, it was like, that was awesome to see that. Like all the fans were there and to meet them and to see how welcoming everybody was. And she was just like, wow, like blown away, like by who all showed up. And
I think we had
how many players showed up. 25
to 30 players plus there's some of them had their spouse, some of them got a kid.
Right.
And then a bunch of fans came in. I was thinking, okay, yeah, man, we'll get like 60 people. I was being conservative, like, so 60 people, maybe up to 100. I'll tell you what, man, I think that thing was like 200 plus easily in there. It was elbow to asshole.
Wow,
awesome.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
And you know what was really fun for me on a side note was Clarky, because Clarky's a mild personality in public. He's not a boisterous person at all.
Yeah,
and he sat back and he was smiling. And Clarky doesn't smile a lot. He's not one to show emotion, but that guy was earlobe to earlobe, just watching all his players take it all in. And because that's part of this. It's got to be part of the selling point to get their asses here, to be honest.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like you got to meet the fans. You guys are you're gonna love playing for this team because they really like you. And then to actually experience it in person within the first couple weeks of practice of showing up in Seattle. Man, we couldn't have asked for it to go better.
That's great. I mean, there's very few markets in MLR that are better than the Seattle fan base. I mean, I've experienced it myself. You guys show up and you're loud and proud. That stadium gets pretty dang loud for sure. And, Matt has been to Fort Quincy in previous seasons, and, it's pretty loud there too. So I think you guys and us are kind of neck and neck in terms of the best fan bases in MLR. But 200 in one place at one time is quite a bit. For an outside engagement like that, other than an actual rugby game. So kudos to you guys for doing that.
That's the pod. And there's us getting together, man. It's like I'm interested to see how we haven't done it during the season yet. So everything was off season. So it's kind of like we didn't know, didn't have a lot of MLR stuff to talk about. We had some trades and stuff like that, and player acquisitions and stuff, but World Cup stuff. But we didn't have actual MLR during the season kind of stuff. So I'm interested to see, as well as I hope a lot of other people are watching what's going to come up of it, and and who we have on, and we have a lot of guests lined up that we want to do. So
we're so stinking excited about this, Phil. You know, you made us push ourselves a little bit more, a little sooner, which I'm grateful as can be for that, because that means that we're ready to start interviewing and like create more content and come out strong, which you do such a phenomenal job of doing.
Thank you so much.
You really do, man. Like, so like the feelings are mutual, like you encouraging to do this. I remember us taking a picture in the car, and we were in Central District of Seattle at the time.
Yep.
And we actually dropped my car off at my buddy Marcus's, and we were heading to downtown. Actually, going to get your lady, and we were turning around and going back to Seattle just to go, you know, be tourists and have fun. And he's like, man, why doesn't anybody do a podcast about rugby in Seattle, guy? Like, you could really do this well if you wanted to. And I was like, that's really good food for thought. It's been in the back of my head. My son has been telling me to do it like for quite a bit. And so that was the little push that it needed to happen. And I make sure I tell everybody that that's our story and that's how we started. And you stimulated it, bro. Yeah. You're the lightning to the gasoline, bro.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's one of those things where, like, you know, when I started up, Scott the Big Guy Ferrara, who's on the Rugby Rant, helped me out tremendously. Like, I was asking him questions, annoying him about how to do this because I had no idea what I was doing, right? So, like, there's always these origin stories for how this thing gets started. So I'm just very grateful to those folks, and, you know, happy to help you guys out, or anybody out there that might be interested in starting a rugby podcast. Just start is my advice. Like, you'll get better with time, you'll get more skills with time, but just get a microphone and a camera and go at it, man. Like, you know, speak your mind, speak your truth, tell us about your passion out there, because there's no gatekeepers in podcasts. That doesn't exist. Nobody's going to tell you, no, you shouldn't do this, or you should change it this and this and this. It's just you and a microphone and talking about your passions and talking about what you love. So anybody out there listening to this that wants to do something along these lines, my suggestion is just to start. That's my advice. And you will get better with time. Like I said, just try to get 1% better with every single episode, and you will enjoy what you see eventually as you continue to create content. So,
and I think that's the reason why we stepped it up and got the equipment we did, because we only wanted to do it once, and we had stuff that we thought was good, and we're like, you know what, we need to step it up and be better. If we're going to compete, we need to.
There's a lot of learning curves that I didn't see coming, which I'm sure you've experienced and you're going to continue to experience as you grow. And like, we went from USB mics to XLR mics, for example, and that's a whole different platform. Like, we have professional equipment now, and pretty excited about that. But, you know, everything's on a budget, so it's one step after another. Like, one man's ceiling is another man's floor. You know what I mean? So
100%.
I'm reaching up there like, hey, bro, I know you're into photography. Like, what kind of cameras you got available? You know, like, what's up? Because you know, we always need to step over our stuff. You know?
Yeah.
And that's just the thing, is if you look back at our evolution of it, you know, back in the summertime, like Nick was saying, when we were just getting started, and when Matt asked me to join it, you were the kind of the focal point on that was, you know, Phil really influenced us to do this. And so that's kind of my story behind that too, is, and if you see the evolution, like, we started in Matt's backyard right over here. And I think you've probably been
he did it.
Yeah.
We did a podcast with him first back there. And that's what stimulated it. Yep.
So that's, and so we had a few interviews out there, you know, we were doing live interviews at the time. And then we kind of progressed. Like, you saw our background in Matt's kitchen, you know, we saw the balls in the background and all that stuff. And then here we are now. So it's, if you look back I encourage people to look back on those episodes. I'm sure same thing with you, Phil, is just those, you just look back on that progress that you made.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I encourage people to look back at our old interviews, even though they might not be the greatest, but still you can see that evolution.
Lapel mics, the USB mics, the XLR mics.
Yeah, bro. And it was like we're all like, wait a minute, we got to spend extra money on mics. We're all going through the paces where they're all like, you know, because we're all on a different budget and such.
Sure.
And we're like, but you get those lapel mics that aren't charged, which I had during an interview that nobody ever saw. And
because you couldn't hear it.
I couldn't hear it. Yeah, 4 minutes into it, of a 12-minute interview, you couldn't hear 8 minutes of it other than lip syncing. It's like looking like a Muppet show. So, you know, cool.
I'll tell you, man, like it warms my heart to listen to you guys and see the evolution of the podcast. Like things haven't been great around here for me. I'm not going to boo-hoo everybody with my sad sob story, but it really warms my heart to hear, how successful you guys are doing with what's going on there in Seattle with the podcast. But let's move away from this real quick
Okay.
because we've got
Yep.
plenty of
Sounds
other
good.
stuff to talk about.
Yep.
Let's talk about some rugby. Right?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, let's get into some rugby here. Just real quick, I mean, obviously Seattle, you guys have the framed player worn jerseys there, and those look fantastic. And Levon, I think you're wearing the new one, right?
Yeah,
The brand new
yeah.
home.
There it is.
Brand new
Yep.
home.
Looks
He won that in the
fantastic.
silent auction that we had last Saturday.
Very
for,
cool.
Seattle Slam Wheelchair Rugby Club
That's awesome.
against our boys in the wheelchairs. And they whooped our ass. Let's be honest.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, they made them
By a
look. I
20-point margin, maybe.
they started figuring it out. Our guys start figuring it out because they're athletes. Like
Yeah,
Sam really picked it up.
Yeah.
Sam.
Montana.
Yeah,
No, the one from New York,
Windsor.
Windsor.
Yeah, Windsor and Ryan Reese.
fly half,
Reese
Yeah,
was
and
really
Ryan
doing
Reese
well.
was a
He
maniac,
he was
bro,
doing-
from Atlanta. Yeah.
Huh.
And then, of course, Maya, because that kid's just an athlete all day, every day. And he always looks like he's having fun anyway.
Yeah.
But no, it's cooler and shit. But like they slam each other, bro. I
Oh,
mean, I'm not being dramatic at all. Like there was this one lady on the slam, and she was taking the boys at school straight up. And it was so much fun to watch. Like you think at first you're like, this is gonna be boring.
Right.
Mhm.
It wasn't. It wasn't at all. Like I'm looking forward to the next tournament. Straight up.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
then
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Well,
go
then they did a proper game after that. They did there wasn't any Seawolves in it. It was just them against each other, and it was just wow. I was excited, man. I was like even with the Seawolves. I mean, of course, you get to see the
Yeah.
Seawolves play like that, but when they did a game amongst themselves, it was fantastic. It was
Yeah,
just a
that's
lot
awesome.
of fun. Yeah.
Very cool. There's a documentary out there called Murder Ball. If you guys, I highly recommend it, watching that to see the
Is that what
wheelchair
it's
rugby
called?
folks. They do absolutely crazy stuff in those wheelchairs, and they're very excellent athletes. There's no doubt
Oh, yeah.
about it, doing what they do. But I wanted to go to the kits. Obviously, you guys always, I think, in my personal opinion, I've told Matt this, and I think Nick as well. I think you guys are like standard bearers about what a good kit should look like. I always say you need a little bit more neon green. I like the original, I think
Bro, really?
18
I'm
and
with you.
19. Like those jerseys that you had, I think were like primo stuff. I think all of y'all's are good. But who do you think, other than Seattle and then maybe the Free Jacks, who always do really well as well? Name some teams that you guys really enjoyed their home and away kits.
Matt and I are on the same level of this. Miami,
Oh yeah,
100%
Hell yeah.
Miami.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some people don't like how the black one with I heard Rob and Scott and Ty talk about it on their podcast.
Mhm.
And I like a lot of their opinions, but that's one I'm not going to agree with is I like the black one with the stripe down the middle, right?
I do
like,
too.
like a racing stripe. Some
Yeah.
people say it looks more like football, soccer.
Who cares? Yeah,
But I love the look of it, and I love those Miami Vice colors.
same.
Dude, our house is actually colored in that every year. It's teal and pink. So I can't help myself, man. I'm definitely going to get one of those kits.
That's
I'm-
one of those. Go ahead. Sorry.
I like the. I mean, if we're going, I'm always a fan of Utah's, man. I like Utah's.
Yeah.
Uh, the color scheme for Miami is great. I mean, I was a fan of it when LA had it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, if we're talking just regular kits, if we're talking the alternate kits, man. I mean, that kit up there is great, dude.
Yeah,
dude,
we
yeah.
talked about it earlier. That
Yes,
St.
sir.
Patrick's Day kit for the Free Jacks is great, man. But I'm a homer. I like the white. I like the ROA kit with the mountain on it.
Yeah,
I do
think that's-
too.
I think
I do
that's-
too.
And even the brand new home kit. I like the orca teeth on it. That's my
Same.
favorite, man.
On that kit right there, the only thing I think they missed it was so basic. But if you look above him and see that skyline, that's
Yeah.
the thing they're missing in that. That's
I
the
know
only
it.
thing I would change. That's it.
Yeah.
Simple as be.
But I think one thing why they wanted to get away so much from the green and blue is because of the NFL, the Seahawks.
Yeah.
because they're Seattle Sea Wolves, and then they're
Right.
Seattle
Okay.
Seahawks. And
So
the
you think it's a
Seahawks
little bit
are
too
blue and
close?
Green. Seahawks
Yeah.
are blue and green. Sea Wolves
Yeah.
are blue and green. Because I
Okay.
mean, I don't know how many times I get it walking around with my, I mean, even still, I walk around with my Seawolves gear on. People are like, yeah, go Hawks. And,
Yeah.
you know, me being a Raider fan, I'm like,
You're like,
no,
F you.
dude.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy. F you, buddy.
Yeah.
This is rugby. This is a real man sport, buddy. And we don't have pads.
Hilarious.
So,
I mean, you
you
guys have
know.
thrown out some really good, kits out there for sure. I really enjoy. I've always enjoyed Utah's home kit. I think it's very, very
Yes.
clean.
Oh,
There's nothing wrong with black and red. Like those are like solid,
Oh, yeah.
solid colors. And I really am. I love that Miami is embracing that Miami Vice
Oh,
type
yeah.
of color scheme. Like that's one thing that some markets just don't quite get is like just embrace. Like Charlotte did. The name sucks. We're going to get into that in a moment. But I love that they embrace like the light blue, that UNC, that Charlotte, Carolina Panthers, and then the black. I think that it looks very, very good. And that's one of those things like Free Jacks do it really well too, where you've got the red, white, and blue. Classic, right? American, Revolutionary War, New England Patriots, Red Sox. Like it makes so much sense. But yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the offseason. Charlotte has come into the league, my hometown of Charlotte, North Carolina. World Rugby is mainly the sugar daddy in this, and I think they own like 2/3 of the entire franchise. And then you got USA Rugby and also MLR also fitting the bill for this team in Charlotte. What's you guys' impressions of what is it, Carolina Anthem Rugby, whatever the fuck?
Anthem,
Yeah.
Carolina Anthem.
I mean, can
Yeah.
before we start talking about this?
Yeah.
I know you're from Charlotte. Can I get a woo?
Woo! There you
Gotta
go.
let me some Ric Flair, man.
The greatest,
Ric
the
Flair,
best there ever was, right there. Yep.
The name. I mean, yeah, I'm not a fan of the name, but I mean, I'm just glad. I mean, I know we went through and lost New York and lost Toronto, so I'm glad to see that they got another team in the league.
Mhm.
Even though I'm not a fan of the name, but I mean, it's for what it's doing for USA Rugby in America. And
Yes.
yeah, I mean, all honestly, we have less than a decade to get ready for the Rugby World Cup here. So
Yeah.
I mean, and that's no time at all. I mean, less than 10 years. That's
7.
there's
7 years.
there's
7 years.
so little time to get ready for it
Yeah.
and to get the word out for rugby in America. And that's just, I mean, it's helping it. So I mean, I'm super stoked for it, but yeah, I'm not super stoked on the name.
Same.
Yeah, I think it's a great, like what echoing what Nick is saying, but it's a great idea and strategy to be prepared for something like that and get these players their experience against higher level competition, because that's what's going to be, that's world rugby for you, right? It's it's just the highest level that you could think of. And so having them in those high leverage games and having them in those games that are in the balance, they're not going to always be, hopefully, they're not always going to be blowouts for that team. Honestly,
Yeah.
it'd be great to see them have a good showing and keep games close or even squeaking out some wins. So yeah.
I agree. Like that's one of those things that they're gonna have some tough, days on the pitch for sure. But maybe if they get to, chemistry going and that team stays together for a couple of years and they get that, chemistry and consistency rolling, and some of those guys are going to make their way onto the Eagles, that's going to be better for the national team overall. And that's one of those things that they're really focusing on is 27, I believe, is that there's no guarantee that we qualify. Like it seems like it could be the case that it's going to be easier for us if they expand the qualifications. But at the same time, like we got to get players together and playing the the youth coming up for 27 and 31. That's really the key thing, is because what's the whole point of this if the USA just stinks it up and loses every single game when we host the World Cup? Like we want to get out of our pool and get into the quarterfinals, right? Like that's the whole goal. And this Charlotte franchise is just a small piece of that to make this thing move forward and go and continue down the road. Like we want to have as many rugby fans watching the MLR and then the national team as possible prior to the World Cup to generate that buzz. Like there's going to be plenty of foreigners coming over to the United States. It's going to be a huge destination for the World Cup, but we need to sell out every single game. And there needs to be plenty of Americans that have never seen the game before. Maybe they're just recent MLR fans fans or whatever it may be to continue on and watch MLR and all that sort of stuff. We're all leading into this whole possibility of this sport being bigger and better than what it ever has been in this country. So it's very, very exciting. And Charlotte's just a small part of that.
Yeah, totally.
I had mixed feelings on it.
Tell me about it.
Well, I'll tell you, I was in the hospital. Okay, so I was thinking way too much on my phone, way too much and shit. But all right, so I get a call from one of the guys I've interviewed that's going down to Dallas, right? And his buddy was also interviewed. I'm trying to keep names out of it, so I'm not picking on anybody. They don't take it wrong. But
sure.
So one of them was signed and going back to the Hawks, right? The USA Hawks.
Yep.
And then the other boys were going to Dallas. And so somebody that we all know, if I drop names, and I'm not going to do that, called him and had him to, had to give him the axe. He's not going back to Hawks, right? And he's like, WTF,
wow.
What's going on? Like, I've been there all summer. I've been training. I've been earning. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And so I called him because he just had it happen on a Thursday and it was Friday. I'm like, this, at the end of the day, this is emotional as hell for these guys, and they work their asses off to get in spot, and then they get cut without real description. Now, the gentleman that had to call him, give him the description, I know that it hurt him as much as it did to call the guy. In general, it hurt him to make that call. So, has nothing to do with it. He just got put into a spot and hey, you got to make calls and cut people. So I was frustrated as could be. But then again, I also had my insight with one of the owners that was going back and forth of the Seawolves, and he was telling me about how, they're going to create this new league, this new team in Charlotte, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, okay. So there's more to this, what appears to be happening. And then later on that day, a couple staff members showed up from the Seawolves at the hospital to say hi, bless their hearts.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, give me the tea, bro. What's going on? And that's when I found out that, USA Rugby, World Rugby, and MLR were collaborating on this team because the World Rugby is like, listen, we're going to invest a ton of money, like between 50 to 100 million, as anybody who hasn't heard this already. But and they're going to ingest it into our culture. Now, feelings aside, we need World Rugby to come in and help us with this because, well, USA Rugby just did bankruptcy in 2020. Okay. So real talk, I don't trust them with my money, especially 50 to 100 million. I wouldn't trust nobody with that. They had a bankruptcy a couple years ago. So in all reality, we need them. Now, what I'm worried about, and I'm enthusiastic, me, man. Anything to help rugby culture, I'm down. I'm going to vote. I'm going to root for your team. I'm going to encourage you, whatever. But are they going to make a dick contest over this? And I said what I said. Because you get a lot of money going around, got a lot of egos flaring around. Like now rugby's not supposed to be about egos and all. And I know that. We all do. That's what we kind of love about the sportsmanship of rugby. You're warriors on the pitch and then you're friends afterwards. And that's the way it is, right?
Yeah, but there's always politics involved, right?
Right. And you get that kind of money involved, you're going to start thinking twice about, who's foe and who's friend.
Right.
So I just hope that they, like you said earlier, that they can get some playing time. They can keep it going for a handful of years so they can really get it going and meshing together. Yeah. And without a bunch of, rich, egotistical guys, arguing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that could happen as quick as it started up.
Yeah, just look at what happened with the South American countries that USA used to beat 10 years ago, beat them into the dirt, like Chile and Uruguay. Those teams are beating the United States at this point.
They put the whooping on Raptors, didn't they?
Yeah. I mean, so the thing is with that is that model is successful. You get a bunch of national team players playing at a professional club level with each other. Just look at those countries. They have proven that can work. So I hope that is what takes place with Charlotte. And I hope that team continues to get better. Now, they might have some bad games here in this first season, but they're going to get a couple wins, I think, at some point. And maybe they'll get better and better as the years progress. And that will be to the benefit of everybody that's a USA Rugby fan. That's one of those things that I was talking about a couple weeks ago is, if you don't have a second team, or maybe you're just a neutral that doesn't have a team in your market, support Charlotte, because that is the USA team, the USA players that will be coming up in 27 and 31 that you might see in a USA Eagles jersey. So Yeah, very encouraging stuff. Let's move along. Talk about Seattle, guys. That's why you're here. You're our Seattle experts. Tell us about the 2023 MLR Collegiate Draft. You guys had one player. Tell us about him.
He's looking at me. Why don't we look at me?
I'm looking at you because we talked about this. You said
We
you
did.
studied.
We
Yeah,
talked.
you did some
I mean,
info and I did.
I don't know. I don't know too much about the kid. I mean, I read a bunch of stuff on him, but it's like he's a young hooker at a Trinity University, and from what I read is his rugby IQ knowledge is top notch. Just getting him. We also have top notch hookers
already.
Yeah.
Which is
So
it's getting him in and getting him under those guys and learning how we do it here and how it's going to be in Major League Rugby.
And
of
we got
course-
a couple of hookers that we were at the party with, right? And
Yep.
man, straight up, like I wouldn't want to meet him in Dark Alley, man. I'm just saying. Pete
course-
Malcolm is one of them. Like
Yeah.
he's he's an Eagle, and Pete is just gold. But
Yeah.
dude, the guy's on it. Like his IQ is good, and he's tough. He's tough as nails.
Yeah.
So this is an example of like this guy is going to come in as a development player for you.
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
Kind of-
yeah. First couple
very
years,
much.
definitely,
Yeah,
yeah.
very
Give
much.
him a couple
guess where he's
years.
from. Guess where he's from.
Ireland?
No, it's a Seawolf special. It seems like BC, British Columbia.
Oh, okay. Yep. I mean,
Yeah,
you guys
but
are really
the
close
BC
to there,
connection with
so
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things. That there's a lot of good players coming out of BC. I mean, Foster DeWitt for the Free Jacks, who's been on the team for quite a while now. He's from that area.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good rugby.
Yeah, when
And,
you were down here,
BC.
we were hanging out with his dad.
Yeah, that guy is
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah,
Gary,
yeah,
shout out
we're-
to Gary. Gary's the
Yeah.
best. Yep.
Gary's the man, dude. We talk once in a while on Facebook Messenger, and like always trying to get him down for a game because he's
awesome.
cool as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the best people in rugby that you'll ever meet is Gary DeWitt. What a solid dude I'm sure he's going to be watching this at some point. Hello, Gary. Thanks for watching and being an awesome Ranger. Let's talk about some of these guys that were picked up by Seattle in the New York and Toronto dispersal drafts. Tell us about those guys.
We got Chance, we got Pago, and we got Sam.
Wow.
And they are gentlemen amongst gentlemen. I remember going to New York, and Pago, he's Samoan. I probably butchered that, but he was in a oh man, I want to say like it looked like a martial art gi or something, and I knew that the guy had flair. Like he's got a personality. He's quiet spoken, but he is cool. And then Chance, I don't know if you ever met Chance, but Chance brings a dynamic to him. Like that guy's full of energy. He's crazy as shit. He's like the guy you want to go out to dinner with afterwards, and you want to go to the pub next door just to see what happens, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And then you got Sam, and Sam is composure. This guy's been around. He knows it. He's pro. He brings an excellence and into the room when he shows up. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So for him to be a leader, it's going to be helpful.
So I was at a photo shoot yesterday, and Chance and Pago were there.
Yeah.
Pago super quiet, just sitting there. Chance, that guy, is cracking me up, bro. Like he was first of all he was walking around rocking his New York Ironworker shirt.
Yep.
and so many people called him out on it. He's like, man, I'm sorry. He apologized. I'm so sorry. I got this, but everybody's called me out on it. But he had this flannel on, and then he was and then he changed to do some photos, and then he was just rocking the flannel with no shirt on or anything. He was just like walking around. I was like, and then honestly, he walked in, he grabbed a trash can, started cleaning up the table.
What?
I'm like, no, everybody not, there was a lot of guys that were in there, but there was like 3 or 4 guys that were sitting in there, and he just started grabbing. He's like, where's the trash can at? Oh, let me just start cleaning up. Then I'm just like, bro, I'm like, nobody asked him to do it. He just started doing it. I'm like, God, look at that, man. There you go, right there, dude. That's rugby in the name. But you ain't seen no NFL guys doing that stuff.
Right.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the rugby values right there.
No doubt. So that's one of those things. Like we're talking about 3 excellent rugby players. You know, Sam Windsor, one of the best fly halves in the history of MLR, right?
Yeah.
Pago, former Free Jack, excellent player on his day, and then Chance is a USA Eagle. So I mean, like you guys cleaned up in this dispersal draft with these players, man. You guys are, I mean, you're already stacked. It just seems like you're retooling. You know what I'm saying? Like you're reloading actually.
yeah.
Like it's just one of those things where Seattle is consistently good every single year. Great organization, so you can tell from the top down. You guys really know your stuff, and it's one of those things. You're a consistent winner, so they're just continuing to load up for sure. But what about the? Go ahead.
Sorry, and Sam has a connection with Seattle already, being from Seattle Rugby Club.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So he had played from like 2014 to 2017. So Seattle Rugby Club, which
He's got roots.
Yeah, and he's got the roots here in.
Is that used to be called Saracens? Is that the same club?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly right. Yeah, so
Okay,
it was probably Saracens
gotcha.
back then, but yeah,
Yep.
I think they rebranded probably about a few years ago.
Yeah, which all of us kind of mess with Seattle Rugby on some level,
Yeah.
because that is really the OG in our area, the biggest OG, and of course Kevin Flynn and Brian Powers and Dave Insight and Enright. I mean, those guys are icons in our area. They will always be icons. They also work for the Seawolves, so they're rugby all the time.
That's awesome.
Some of our I hold them close to my heart. They're absolute OGs in our area.
Absolutely.
Would you guys say that that's one of the pathways, like an unofficial pathway into
Oh, yeah.
the Seawolves?
It has been. We're getting academy together right now. We're making it happen. It's developing. You know how everything takes time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yes, mostly Seattle has been a majority of the pathway. Now, mind you, the other clubs that compete against Seattle don't like me saying that.
Mhm.
And they've all stepped up their game to challenge that, which does nothing but help all of us in the Northwest with rugby.
100%.
So I'm kind of glad talking a little smack got a fire lit under their ass. So
Very good. The catalyst for change, Matt Courtwright, for sure.
And it's not just the Seawolves now. I mean, we have Noah Wright, who played at the club, is now at Dallas Jackals. So,
Yeah.
the influence is starting to at the Pacific Northwest here is starting to be
Branch out.
It's cool.
working everywhere now.
It's so cool. We're and like just like yourself, bro. Like it's hard to root for a singular team and just those players, because as we're getting more familiar with sport, they keep going to other teams, and you're like, well, dang it, I can't really like that player. I don't really want to yell against them, but work through it.
Nope.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you're supporting the player on another team, but you're not rooting for the team exactly. You're just rooting for them to do the best that they can. There's quite a few Free Jacks that are now on other rosters, and it's just one of those things where, like, I love these guys, especially the guys that come on the show and show love to the show. Like, I wish the best for those guys, and obviously opportunities will call them elsewhere. You just continue to support them and wish them well, essentially, in their rugby journey. But yeah, let's get into did we talk about departures in the off season? Not quite, right? Like
It's always a mystery
Who's
with
left?
departures.
Right.
I mean,
AJ is probably one that.
Well, okay, we can look up on the wall here. We had Brad Tucker last year.
Yep.
He went over to New York for a season, and of course he's now in Chicago playing for Sam Harris, which I think that'll be a dynamic duo. I mean, I don't know if it'll be good as the Lizard and Brad working together, but it'll be good. But now that Brad's played for Sam, he's really enjoying it. So as long as they're good and they're comfortable and they're living their dream. And then next to him, so that's game worn. And then the next game worn is Ben Landry. And Ben Landry retired. And then he lives in Wisconsin, by the way. So those that don't know,
You were telling me about that.
Home.
Yeah.
And then coming on the day, like Captain's Run Day, practicing with the boys and then just giving it all out. And like the skill set that for him to be able to do that, just unmeasurable. Yeah. And then for him to have the opportunity, since Chicago came out last year, of course, like, why wouldn't you take that opportunity? That's 2 hours from home versus,
exactly.
Yep. And so now he's at Chicago as well. So, not taken away from our boys, but we got to worry about Chicago.
Chicago's going to be legit, man. Obviously last year we thought that they had a stacked roster, right? But it took them a while to build up chemistry. I think they won the last 2 games of the season there.
Utah was their first game.
So they really look strong there at the end. Or I think they finished with actually 3 wins in total, but that's probably the best 3-win team we've ever seen in MLR, and I think they're going to cause a lot of problems this year. Ben Landry, by the way, former Free Jack, people forget about that, but I think it was either the COVID year or the year afterwards. He played like maybe 4 or 5 games for the New England Free Jacks. Yeah, well, a little known Free Jack, but that's just one of those things as being like a super fan. I remember. Great player though, fantastic.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's what's
Hell
up.
yeah.
I mean, the big one that hits me is Alatimu, man.
Yep.
That was my guy, dude. Like
AJ, yeah.
Like, I mean, his rugby IQ, his freaking boot, man.
And he was a fan favorite too.
I mean,
Yeah.
you pre-game, you go out and watch them kick, and like you see the guys kicking, and they're kicking, 20-meter out, whatever. They're trying to kick sideline to sideline.
Mm-hmm.
He would go 5 meters out, 3 meters out, and kick at that angle. Like you're looking at it going, you ain't making that.
Right.
He's just knocking.
I couldn't throw that. How was he going to kick that?
How are you making that angle? So but he went out and was like that. I mean, his boot was phenomenal, and his rugby IQ was phenomenal, and he was such a good guy, dude. Like, he was so nice, man.
Yeah, you guys are going to miss him for sure. Where did he end up?
Houston.
Okay.
Houston.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, Houston
too.
also looking like a very dangerous team in the West. Like I think they can do some stuff this year with that whole rebuild that they've had over the past couple years. They're going to be a legit problem in the West for quite a while, man.
Man. You know what? Just the level that every year seems to keep on stepping up and stepping up and stepping up. Like we're all in, no matter who you're rooting for, you're in for an excellent season of rugby, and it's another one to be remembered.
I mean, I think no matter. I think I know it sucks, about Toronto and New York, but I think since the dispersal draft with those 2 clubs going, that every team like stepped their game, like every team got stepped up. I mean, even the Jackals, they got a good looking roster. It's like, man, okay, let's do the damn thing.
And a young roster.
Let's see what fits out. Let's see what
roster.
happens, man. Let's play.
100%. That's one of those things. It's like when those teams folded and those players got dispersed among the league, that's going to just elevate all of the competition with MLR with the remaining teams, and it's really, really exciting to see. I think every single year the product on the pitch has improved, and I expect that to be the case this year for sure. The Free Jacks beat the hell out of a couple teams this past season. I don't expect it to be that much of margins of victory like when we beat Toronto by 75 points, and then NOLA like 50 points. Like that's not going to happen this year. I would be shocked if that was the case.
Yeah, with any team.
Exactly, for sure. For sure. Any new signings that you guys want to throw out there that are very, very exciting for the season?
I'm excited about Brian Reese, to be honest. I don't think anybody's brought him up yet.
Reese, I was actually going to bring him up.
Yeah, no, go, please, because I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Ryan Reese, he came from Atlanta.
Okay.
And he's a Life University guy. Won 2 back-to-back championships at Life University.
Nice.
So he's coming in with a pedigree, which is familiar to us, is winning back-to-back championships.
There you go.
And he's a really, really nice guy. He was at the party. I met him at the party, and he was just interacting so well with the fans, just really interested in everybody's story. And I think it's just
he was the last player at the party.
Yeah,
too.
He was the last player at the party.
Everybody was long gone, and he was like, "Hey guys, what's going?" Have another
awesome.
beer. And not weird or uncomfortable. Super genuine as the day was long.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And it's just so nice to have somebody bring those values, because you could bring in a player that has great skill set, everything like that, and that is important. But bringing in the attitude is also what makes a great rugby player, is the attitude and integrity
100%.
And the effort that you put, not just in, on the pitch, but also out in the community too. So he'll be a backup scrum half. But I think he'll, I think he'll do well, really well.
Good.
And
hey, squirrel moment. We got any comments, Phil? We got any trolling
What's
going
interesting is that I'm seeing no comments on my end. I don't know if that's just some sort of bug in the system here, or maybe just nobody's wanting to talk. I'm very, very surprised by that, to be honest, because we got some jokers that watch this show. I mean, there's a lot of Rangers out there that like to talk a little shit. So I'm surprised that we haven't had any people, jumping in the comments. Like the king of the comments is missing Bozo 6. I don't know what's going on. I'm surprised. He's always in the comments.
It's a little too late over there, maybe.
No,
Oh, yeah.
no.
Is it
I
past
mean,
his
Is
bedtime?
it past your bedtime?
it could be. He might be
Yeah.
in his footy pajamas right now, jumping in bed.
His
You never
onesie,
know.
right?
Yeah.
With his red nose.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't really, I don't remember what team he came from, but that man when they brought out that video that for K Train.
Okay, Train. Yeah.
Man, I'm stoked to see him play, dude. They they rolled that video out of the old what I don't know what movie that's from.
I don't remember either.
But
Speed.
was it
no,
Speed?
no, it was some Denzel Washington movie where the train got away, but they rolled that out, man. They rolled his little hype up video out. I'm like, man, I'm ready to go. Let's watch the rugby, dude.
And we know a rugby game going. I want to go.
Hell yeah. Ready
Yeah,
to
we
run
got
through
our
a wall.
preseason coming up. What, next Friday?
Yeah, next Friday.
16th.
We got our first preseason game.
Incredible. Yeah, so Free Jacks are coming up too towards the end of the month there. So yeah.
You guys
Ours
got
is
used to it,
pretty
right?
iconic because we got Phil Mack coming back, as
Phil.
the boys reminded me.
Yep.
And he used to be our original
Coach.
coach. He
He
was
was
our
coach
playing
player.
coach.
Player
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah.
Great
scrummy.
Canadian international for sure, Phil.
Yes.
Mack.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
Is your guys' first preseason game the doubleheader in Houston?
That's right. We're playing the Jackals down there that Friday night. So yeah, super excited about that.
Oh, really cool.
And speaking of which, if anybody's
pretty
listening to this that's interested in going to that game down there in Houston, we do have discounted tickets available in the First Regiment Facebook group. I posted that yesterday, so there are links out there for discounted tickets, and that's a two. You pay one price, you got one ticket, but it's two games that you can go to. So
It's Houston.
nice.
Who else?
Houston and NOLA,
Yeah, I think it's Nola.
maybe.
Houston
Yeah, I
makes
think it's
sense.
Nola.
It's that 6-hour drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right here, NOLA.
Yeah.
There you go. Bada
Good
bing,
old
bada boom.
We know how much you guys like
Yeah.
NOLA, so we got to little trolling ourselves. Little trolling.
Hashtag no playoffs NOLA. Yeah, we love that.
Yeah. Which I never understood. What is that? Just because you guys whipped them so bad and you like to rub it in, or why do you guys talk like?
Well, here's the problem. So the year that we almost made the playoffs, the year that we never made the playoffs, other than excelling and winning the championship, and then the first year that we made the playoffs, we got knocked out by New York. The year prior to that, we were in playoff contention, and then NOLA came up to Fort Union Point and beat us and knocked us out of playoff contention. So that's one of those things that I'll never forget. And then NOLA has never made the playoffs, so that's one thing that we kind of jab at them a little bit going forward, because they broke our hearts at Fort Union Point years ago. So yeah, it's just one of those things that we like to throw in their face a little bit, that they've
Okay.
never made the playoffs, and they've
'Cause I was
existed
kinda
from the very
figured out.
beginning.
We've all talked about it,
Yeah.
So I'd see it and I'm like, why is Rob taking his shit and not popping back? So I see that and I'm like, yeah, Rob's being too much of a gentleman as far as I'm concerned, but I want to know more about it. And I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
That's funny as could be.
Yeah, man. So one of those things is we haven't lost to them since that time. And we've whooped their ass every single time. They're essentially our doormat. Like, we just walk right on all over them. So at some point they're going to get the better of us. But I'll tell you, one of the key things is we've got the vampire curse. Holden Youngert, who used to play for NOLA, every time he wore NOLA's jersey and played us, they won. And now, since he's been with the Free Jacks for the past couple of years, when he's worn our jersey against them, we've beat them. So it's just one of those things, is that player, went from NOLA to us, and we haven't lost to him since then. So, and he's still on the roster to this day as our backup scrum half. So I expect us to beat them twice this year as well. So
I
see how
love
it
the
goes.
enthusiasm.
yeah, man, absolutely.
Hey,
We're
that's
reigning
what-
champions over here. What are you talking about? I got the crown on our head right now,
What
man.
it's all about, man. It's rivalries.
yeah.
Man.
Yeah,
Building
Derby
rivalries,
match,
man. That's
Derby.
what it's all
Listen,
about,
yeah.
dude.
The beauty is in the banter, baby. Like, you got to give it a little bit. Now, I appreciate a little throwback as well, but we're the champions right now. You guys have experienced this 2 years in a row, as champions. So, it's just one of those things where, we're going to throw a little shit people's way, and we're going to, dance on their people's graves a little bit. But it is what it is. When the kickoff starts a couple weeks from now, it's all, that week, and we're going to talk shit about the team that week that we're playing, and then the next week, and then the next week, until the end of the season. So yeah, it's
way
all
I see
fun and games, man.
The way I see it, though, is that it's a new season. And
Yeah.
It's time. It's the proving ground. It's time to prove to do it again. You can do it again.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that's it's so difficult in sports, is to run it back, right? You guys experienced that in 18 and 19. I want to see.
Oh
if the
yeah,
Free
don't
Jacks are
forget
able to
we
do that.
also went to the championship.
That's
3
right,
times.
against New
Oh,
York.
so,
Yeah.
let's remind everybody of that. And
And
last
playoffs.
year we lost to San Diego, who whooped your ass. So there's that.
Well, we beat them in
They
the
whooped
final.
our
That's
ass
really
first.
what matters.
No,
Just throw
totally,
that
bro.
out there.
And you and I were there, bro. That was a dude, that game it couldn't have been any better. It came down to 3 points. Like, it was anybody gained the whole game. It's
I mean,
so
I think
good.
it was fair to say that's the best final that MLR's ever experienced on that
That was-
stage
that
as
was a
well.
fantastic
Like,
final.
No. 19.
Really?
2019.
Oh, Mall the Glory.
The Mall
Yes,
the Glory.
that was at the
And you
end of
guys
the
got-
game.
Yeah. And you
The
guys
mall-
get to have a moment like that.
The
But
Mall
I mean,
of
Mall of
Glory.
Glory.
You
to us,
cannot.
man,
No one's gonna uptake the
that
Mall
is-
of Glory, dude.
welcome to the History Channel, brought to you by the Seawolves.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. No,
Hey,
oh,
man.
that's right. 2019, you guys were Cubs.
That's true. Yeah.
right.
We did,
Yeah.
Look at that. Yeah. Love to see
at
it. Man.
those.
Look at that. Unreal. He's got the rings. Everybody kiss the
Oh, yeah,
ring
yeah.
right there. Speaking of which,
Yeah, you know,
let me throw
We
this
had
out
to
there.
ask you, Phil, like, what happened with the star on your shit, dude? Did they forget
Listen,
again?
dude.
They run
Well,
out
I
of
don't know
thread?
what to tell you, man. Like the Free Jacks organization is very different from the Jacks Rangers show, where we're not as humble as they are. One of their key mantras
No
is
shit.
humble. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. No shit. The organization itself like puts out this like humble energy, you know what I'm saying? And that's all well and good, but I think that's one of the reasons why they didn't want to put the star on there. And I completely disagree with them. And I hope some of them are watching. I'm sure they will. I disagree with you. You've got to put the star on the badge.
Yes.
And you know, it's not about being humble. It's just about, you know,
Yeah, you
Earned,
you
earned.
Yeah, Damien.
you earned it. You've earned it 100%. It's just paying tribute to the championship year. You got to keep that on there. I'm surprised that they didn't do that. And I hope that they do correct that in future years and put that star on there because it does matter. And it's just a classy thing to do. It's not being a jerk. It's not being overconfident. It's just a classy way to, pay respect to that championship.
Yeah, and
Completely, man.
yeah, I'm just a little surprised by that because a lot of other leagues do that. You know, it's
Yeah.
not just MLR. It's-
Soccer does it. Yeah.
Soccer does
100%.
it.
See, and I want a third
and other
outline for our
ma-
runner-up championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
the third
second-
outline.
because I'm like, hey, man, that takes a lot. It takes a lot to
Absolutely,
get
to
to
get
that
to the
level.
final.
You know, you did it once,
Yeah.
so it's like we've done it 3 times. So it's like, man, that's a lot to watch your team go through. And then last year, man, regular season we were 12-4, or 12-4.
12-4, yeah.
And like,
Four seasons.
dude, Clarkie's kicking ass still, man. I don't know how the guy does it, but he's a wizard. And oh man, like to watch them go to San Diego again within like 3 weeks, 3 weeks. Because our last game of the season was in San Diego, and we put in pretty much our C squad just because why
Yes.
risk it for the biscuit? We already knew we were going to playoffs. So and then to go back to Snapdragon. And let's be honest, man, their fan base is huge. They're good. Like,
Yeah.
kudos to the cohort putting all that together because they keep their squad strong. But man,
Yeah.
for us to lose it in San Diego was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. Let's talk. I mean, they're a great fan base and great stadium, great organization. But let's talk a
But-
little shit about San Diego real quick.
Okay.
Raise your hand if your team actually has won a championship. Hey,
Yeah, hey,
Hey, raise your hand if your teams want to get championship against San Diego.
hey,
Hell
In
yeah.
San Diego.
Yeah.
Yay!
Raise your hand if you won 2 championships in San Diego.
Ah, very good, very good. I'll tell you, man. That
Brought to you by the History
organization,
Channel.
they took
Taking them
that.
to school.
They took that 1 point loss to the Free Jacks and said, okay, we're going to get really serious and have absolutely loaded up. So it's all fun and games. But when they come out this year, I think they're going to be firing on all cylinders. I wonder how they're going to hold up with some of their geriatrics that they have on that team towards the end of the season, though. We'll have to see how that goes. Anywho, let's talk about the Seawolves are going to be making a long trip across the country to face off against the mighty New England Free Jacks, the defending champions. Any of you guys making that trip? Matt, you always travel.
What do you think?
You're going to
Oh
be
yeah,
there.
I'm coming. Well,
Hell
dude, I'm
yeah.
staying with Kenny. We're gonna go ruck up Quincy. We're gonna have
Love
a good
that.
old time, and I'm gonna come loud and proud. I
Hell
won't
yeah.
go any other way, and I'll probably stand next to you and make sure we're both embarrassed together,
Love it.
like we did last time.
Yes. Yep.
No, absolutely, man. I can't. I love the camaraderie. I'm gonna get there early so I can hang out with all the families that tailgate across the street, and
Yep.
put on a spread that I got the beauty to meet both the year that I came and saw you, and then of course we all went to the championship and had a.
That was
I
awesome.
mean, I don't know about you, bro, like because we haven't talked much since the championship, but I will say this: that stinking championship was birthday, 4th of July, and Christmas all on the same day to me, man. I
Hell
was just
yeah.
a little kid, just in a candy store, just having a hoot. Oh, Goodness gracious.
It was a blast, man. It's one of those things where I look back on it, feels like a dream to a certain extent. Like it was so amazing and it felt so surreal to experience that in Chicago. But man, amazing final, amazing venue. I think that, I know you're a big fan of the Hounds organization. They did a fantastic job, a 10 out of 10 hosting that thing. And to have the Dropkick Murphys play afterwards after the Free Jacks win, like what?
Right?
I called that before it happened.
Did you? Oh, and Shaquille didn't do a bad job either, man. That
He
guy
did a fantastic job.
He did a great job. It was fun to watch that Magilla gorilla out there, man, for sure.
Him with that rugby ball in his hand looking so small was wild to see.
It looked like one of those little mini balls, dude.
It did. It really did. Yeah.
Like, how can one human be so stinking huge?
Nick, how do we get Rucky to an away game? How does that happen? Is that possible?
I wonder if we need to donate miles for that guy.
I don't know, man. My only away game this year is going to be it will not be Rucky. It'll just be me, but it'll be the All Blacks Fiji game. So.
Oh yeah, that's going to be unreal, man. Hell yeah. That's going to be a good one for sure. Everybody's marking that on their calendar for sure. Now, obviously, I think have they announced yet that the final's going to be at Snapdragon? Has that taken place yet?
No, they have not officially.
But there's a teaser, huh?
Yeah, so they had a meeting on Wednesday in Miami.
Yeah,
with the owners to decide that, and well, I haven't been privy to any information yet, so I don't know. That's the rumorville. I'll be surprised if it doesn't.
I thought it wasn't sitting on the 3rd.
It's not official. It was on that show on the Rugby Network, and the owner was on there, and
they were talking about wanting to do it.
To bid for it.
Okay,
not that he got the bid.
Gotcha. Okay,
I know that we posted something on social media and played a couple rounds here. Quite a few likes with. They were teasing a big announcement, and then our comment was below: "Is play us at Fort Quincy, you cowards." That's the only team that has yet to play in New England. Unreal.
Oh,
How does that happen?
That is weird.
Insane.
That's weird.
Very crazy, yeah. Hopefully next year. If it doesn't happen next year, we're rioting. The Rangers are marching to Dallas and burning the place to the ground.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Dallas is an interesting place. No hit on Rick and James. That's part of the big fan base, but Dallas needs. They need to get behind their fans, and they need to support them because
I'm shocked that they're in such a large stadium that just kills atmosphere, right? I mean, the team plays poorly, right? So you're not going to get a huge crowd of looky-loos that want to be there as bandwagon fans, and it's a huge stadium. It's the largest in MLR. It's almost like 50,000. Like that's gotta not be good. You've been there, right, Matt?
It's a great stadium to heckle a kicker. Just putting out there.
I
had a lot of fun. And I call them the library because they're so stinking quiet.
It's almost like the MLR finals when we were in New York when they last second switched into the Red Bull Stadium.
Yeah. Yep. Now, all the Rangers know exactly what I'm about to say. Is I'm going to talk about New York being so shitty with that final being there and MLR having to fit the bill for that, having to rent that place because their previous stadium throughout the season was a high school stadium where you couldn't even buy beer at, so they couldn't have it there. And since that time, there's been a neutral venue, which some people like, some people don't like. I would rather have it at Fort Quincy. Like if the Free Jacks had the most points in the league and they made it to the end, let's have it there. It's going to be an atmosphere of a fucking madhouse.
Hold on though, bro. You don't have the capacity.
Yeah, we can put some seats in there. Yeah. I mean, how many people do you really need? Like 5,000, 8,000?
Okay, hold on. How many did we have at your championship last year, sir? We had 11,000.
11,000? Is that right?
Yeah, we had 11,000. Now, mind you, I bet you a majority were Chicago Ruggers.
Yeah.
In general, in the Midwest, because how much fun was that during our tailgate, right?
It was awesome.
So much fun, and you saw so much Chicago gear naturally, but no, I mean there's a lot of San Diego and a lot of Free Jacks fans, but I don't I respect what you're saying because I'd not like to say that about Seattle, but I'm very aware that Seattle's capacity is only 4,000 roughly, maybe 4,500 if we do standing room only.
Okay,
and that's not enough if we actually want people to show up. No disrespect, but they'd have to spend a ton of money last minute to do it at Fort Quincy. In all sincerity,
okay, I've got an alternate for you. We'll do it at Fenway.
Hell yeah, that would be cool. That'd be cool.
Wouldn't that be sick? Yeah, I mean that would be a destination type of thing for sure.
Hey, David Barry, could you make that happen, sir? Thank you.
Going out the pubs around there too.
Yeah, I mean, it would be an absolute blast there. And I think that capacity is 17,000. So you're looking at, you
That'd
could
be perfect.
definitely, yeah, you might be able to sell it out with enough marketing behind it for the
Yeah.
Bostonians to get involved, the people that are just casuals or don't know about rugby, just want to show up and drink. You could probably sell the place out. So
And it's that central location to where the down, it's in the neighborhood basically, but there's those pubs around there. There's all that, I love Fenway. That's a fantastic.
I wish we could have the championship in a completely neutral spot that needs to be stimulated, like say St. Louis or something centrally located in America.
I agree.
Because then we could capture those fans. They could like somebody other than their local club.
Exactly.
And it's centrally located and is true definition of neutral.
I agree.
Versus, I do like the predetermined spot because like now we know where to get our tickets and such. And like I got my ass covered for San Diego already. I plan on being in San Diego for a stinking month because our last game is the 29th of June and then possibly the 3rd of August. It's like, man, why go back and forth?
In the All Blacks game
at 19th, halfway through it, it's like, why travel 3 times?
Yeah, just stay. Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Why not?
So
not
a surf. I want to couch surf.
And 75 degrees every day. Right. That's not bad.
Right. What could go wrong? Let's find out.
Hilarious.
I like the idea of that.
Hilarious. Yeah, that's a great idea. I've always said, like, if you're going to do a neutral venue, it might as well be in the middle of the country. Like, I like the idea of going back to Chicago, but I love also the idea of an emerging market like St. Louis, where there isn't a team. You could definitely have it there. It's big enough. There's attractions, so on and so forth. But let's get into the final 2 questions before we get you guys out of here. The official way too early prediction for your Seattle Seawolves. What's the win-loss in 2024 if you had to say?
11-5.
11-5. Respectable.
I mean, come on. They're going to run the table. No. 13-3. Sam Windsor is the top point scorer again. And we go all the way to the final. And I will see you there at the final.
Oh, shit. I love that.
Well, I don't know because isn't Chicago in the East?
Chicago is in the East. I think they'll squeak it out against
Chicago. I think it'll be them in Chicago in the East. And man, I'm putting my chips on Chicago, bro. I'm sorry.
Wow. I mean, they won 3 games last year, Matt. Come on, dude.
Hold on. There's this team that used to call AG, and Sam Harris had it for 2 years. And do you remember when AG got pulled out, bro? They were stomping the piss out of everybody.
That's true.
Okay, so like, I'm a huge Sam Harris fan. I said it and I'll say it again. Like, that guy is a guru. He is good communicator with his team and his expectations of what he expects for you to play footy at the level you're to play it at. He sets the bar, he holds them accountable, and he does a good job bonding them and getting them together in certain events. I can't wait to see what happens this year. Maybe I'm talking out my ass, and that's okay. It won't be the first time, but I really keep your eye on Chicago. But Seattle, I want to stick with the 12 and 4.
4, yep.
And go to the playoffs and see what happens. But
I can't wait to get my pinky ring.
Hell yeah, dude!
Right? Whoever we play, we're gonna have a blast.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate the veteran presence of this podcast that's on with me right now because you guys you've seen it, you've been there, and you've done that, and you guys feel good about your Seawolves. Why wouldn't you? They're consistent winners throughout this league. They've got a winning culture there.
And when we make it to the finals, Rookie will be there.
Love that. Love that. So that would be interesting. Let's say, I mean, I hear what you're talking about with Chicago, and I think they are one to watch for sure. But I agree, Sam Harris is an excellent coach. But when you're talking about AG, in that season where they were world beaters, who beat them? The New England Free Jacks beat them with our B-side, by the way. Holy shit.
Oh, it's getting deep. I got
the script.
I didn't bring him.
So yeah, anyway.
That's good. No, that's cool.
But that would be so sick if Seattle and New England finally got that final that we've been talking about for years that we want to see. And wouldn't it be amazing if it was in San Diego and they've loaded up and they've lost the final multiple times at this point? Wouldn't that be hilarious?
We don't call it San Diego. We call it South Seattle.
South Seattle.
Seattle.
Seattle South right there.
That's right.
Unreal.
Where we win our silverware.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have we knocked them out of the playoffs?
Many years.
No, I mean, seriously, they finally got to pay us back, but I think we've done it 3 or 4 times. So,
yeah.
I mean, and then the Mall of Glory to just take it away like they were winning, and we took
Oh,
away
yeah.
in like the 81st minute or some jazz.
Yeah.
Like,
Crazy.
I think I would have cried if I was.
Oh, that's a dagger.
Never heard a
is
stadium go so quiet and so fast. in
Oh,
my
and
life.
we
It
were
was-
so loud.
It was
Oh.
freaking great.
That's the first time you and I traveled together. Was
Yeah.
19 in that
and
game.
I was Rucky was on the field. Rucky had his belt, and those guys were so quiet. You could hear a pin drop, dude. Like,
Yeah.
ding.
Took
But
away
the-
their
But
birthday.
the ominous like cheering of this.
Because
I've-
Yeah.
I've got a meme idea right now that just
Yeah.
popped into my head with you guys talking shit about San Diego. San Diego is the Buffalo Bills of MLR. Holy shit.
Oh my God, they are.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So you're going to be seeing something dropping from the Jacks Ranger show very, very soon about
Oh,
that. That is hilarious,
That's
man.
brilliant, brother. It was
Oh
brilliant.
my gosh. Anyway, any closing thoughts for the Rangers out there as we close up shop here?
So we here at the Seawall Podcast, we have a tradition we do from Lance over the Great American Rugby Show,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
it is to give gratitude or thanks to someone who helped you along your rugby journey.
So for me, woo, I mean, there's been a lot, man. There's been a lot. Like Coach Jeff Mason at the University of South Carolina, where I played, great guy, just loved the game so much. And that's one of those things. Like, I'm really glad that you threw that towards me with this question, because I try to lead with gratitude. That's something that I really, really try to put forward for my own life. So he's a big one, man. Jeff Mason helped me so much at the University of South Carolina, like helped me become a man. That's one of those things, rugby is one of those character developers, right? So, picking up a ball at 17, going to Charlotte Rugby Club as a 17-year-old, playing against grown men, that certainly helped out tremendously. But, going to the University of South Carolina and playing there and just, experiencing that was just unreal. And it solidified my love for the game of rugby. So he's up there for sure. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's huge.
For
Absolutely.
sure. What about y'all?
Good.
Oh, man,
We're both turning to you.
Yeah, you all turn. I mean, we've done it. We've done it so much. We've covered a lot of people, man. But I
So
mean,
somebody new this time,
so
Yeah.
because everybody influences us constantly.
yeah.
You can say,
Yeah.
I mean, I would honestly, I would say with the interactions I've had lately would be Coach Clark. Clark.
Nice.
I mean, Clarky, man. They treat me like I'm one of the guys. He does, and he is constantly thinking about me and saying, "Hey, man, he wants to include me in the things that's why I get a good experience." And just in case you don't know, this is my last year being rookie.
Wow.
So
Official.
officially,
Sad.
yeah.
So sad, man.
So, but
It's a hard bar to. It's gonna be
Yeah.
a hard bar to meet.
It's been a journey with him, man, and he. I mean, we've had some good conversations in New York, man. I mean, working out with the guy I mean, small guy on an older guy on a different level, dude. Like, I'm like, he had me picking up bigger weights, going, all right, let's get after it, kid. But
Hilarious.
man, definitely Coach Clark, man. I mean, he's one of the nicest guys, and always thinking about other people and selfless and just willing to have a conversation with you no matter what. I mean, and about anything. So
Very cool. Yeah.
You on? You want me to go? You want to go?
I could go. So since you brought us on to kind of talk about Seattle rugby, and it's not just the Seawolves, but about Seattle rugby and our influences. My person that I choose is Kevin Flynn, who's the president of Seattle Rugby Club.
Mhm.
He's an absolute legend, and I always wear the pin on my hat right there. You can't really see it, but
Yeah.
right there.
Oh yeah. That's the logo. Yep.
Oh yeah, show him our pin too, since you're there.
Yeah.
We got some new pins.
Well, this is the button,
Looks awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get one of those from you, Matt.
not the proper pin, but
Oh yeah, you're gonna get one. Don't worry, bro. I made sure I'm gonna travel this season, and I'm gonna it's gonna be
Cool.
great.
I got a sticker for you, so there you go.
Absolutely.
we got one for you too. Huh?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah.
but yeah. So Kevin, he does just amazing stuff in the rugby community here, and he's got me involved in the club by doing some media stuff and marketing stuff, and I'm helping build their end of season report. But with Kevin, he's just kind of always in our. He's just omnipresent in our influences here.
Very
He's
cool.
What we do.
Yeah, he really is, man. It's like
And-
that's a great person to pick.
And we interviewed him. If you guys want
Yeah.
to check that interview out.
Yeah, the guy he forgot more than most of us know. Sincerely, like real talk. Man, that's a hard one. I would say for me, and I haven't talked about this gentleman in a minute, but I'm gonna throw out Brad Tucker, Jersey over here to my right.
Yep.
Brad and I got together and started bringing out the players to games in during the pandemic, and he really helped influence and stimulate more of the youth activity with the professional level, because, well, at the time I didn't really feel like Seattle was doing enough, and so therefore I don't like to ask for permission as much as I wouldn't get at asking for forgiveness.
Right.
So like he tells it and he's like, yeah, I know a bunch of the guys would love to go to games. I'm like, let's make that happen. Let's choreograph, let's coordinate it. And let's go. And so he did make that happen. And just because he's younger than I am, and he didn't have to do that. He had his own time. I'm sure he's got his own stuff to do. Lord knows his wife at the time was working for MLR and probably working like 60 to 80 hours a week. So that probably wasn't real great. And then of course he's got the time with the boys and keeping all that going. So like for him to put put time aside to help the youth and to help rugby in our area, mad respect, Brad, mad respect. And that's why he's one of my favorite players to this day, even though he's not a Seawolf.
Right. Yeah, these are all excellent, selections here, and very, very passionate. Rugby people are very, very passionate people, and leading with gratitude is so important. And talking about this sort of stuff is awesome. So I highly recommend people in their own conversations after they listen to this, reach out to anybody and ask them who influenced you and stuff like that, and get them talking about that sort of stuff, because talking about it makes it even more real, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it brings power to it, and maybe will influence people to pay it forward as well. So that's
I just want to drop one haymaker at the very end here. Now that we talked about having grace and appreciation. So Bozo, take notes. You're really good at stirring the pot, but I'd rather see more humility and humbleness and show respect than being a shit show clown that you act like. Straight up. Somebody has to say it. A lot of people haven't said it. I'm that guy. I will say what needs to be said. I like the guy, but some of his tack needs to be polished.
All right, Bozo.
Especially in rugby community. You want to go be in the NFL and do that kind of stuff, that's okay. But I think you need to just like be happy for what we got. Encourage this. This is a startup company at the end of the day. MLR all the way. So like to have talk mad shit all the time, let's think twice once in a while, and just like maybe we can just go once or twice without just stirring the pot and making everybody just, because it's also a reflection on you, bro. Straight up.
Totally. I wonder what I'm surprised Bozo's not in the comments right now. Let me just check before we exit.
No, you're good.
He's not there.
Like I said, I like the guy, but and that's part of respect as a man, is sometimes you got to be told like, hey bro, maybe dial it back a little bit, because you're throwing egg on everybody's face acting like that. And it's unacceptable in rugby.
And just to flip the script to get something on to last thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Dan Creel and Candace Creel and their
Happy Bundles.
Yeah, Happy Bundles. Their foundation that they
yes.
So
yeah.
We always try to give them a shout out on our podcast. They're not a sponsor, they don't pay us anything, but I love the work they do. It's close to my heart. They helped out one of my neighbors, who their little girl, shout out to her, Sophia. She just had a birthday yesterday, and but she's dealing with her cancer flare up. So down in Houston, she went down to Houston to get some treatment. So
wow.
It's near and dear to my heart. They're my neighbors, and he's a good guy. So he's one of the guys going to be down to the All Blacks game. So
that's awesome.
Just shout out to Candace and Dan and the work they do, man. We love. I love what they do, and I'll help them until the day I die, man.
That's the Lord's work right there, man. A charity helping kids with cancer. Like, come on, man. Like, that's just, the top-notch people for sure. All right, boys. I think it's time for me to put on my footy pajamas, because it's past 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
You're welcome, man. So happy to have you guys on here. And we got one word to exit the video in 3, 2, 1. Huzzah!
My mic's not. Is this thing on?
Hello?
Hang on, hello?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
You're
it.
good.
Cheers, man.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Phil.
Hi, Phil.
Bye.
See you, Phil.